And then on top of that, you were able to fill out every room and get it rented out.
Easy.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the classic house hack. That's a perfect example of a single family classic house hack. Because usually when we say house hack, we're usually talking about like multifamily, but you can easily do it with a single family as well, as long as you have the mentality. And I just want to touch on a couple things that you talked about there, which I think are extremely important for our listeners and the young soldiers or senior soldiers that are out there listening, or just, I guess, military service members. I'm sorry, we got some sailors on board today. So hey, what's going on, guys? This is Dan Wynn
and Mike Glaspie,
and welcome to the Military Cash Flow. All right, today's guest, we have Mike Damaso out there you're in California, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm in San Diego.
Unfortunately, dude, you're in California. I'm in freaking northern New York. It's freaking freezing up here, dude. Like, I wouldn't give to be in Cali, dude. That's crazy. But yeah, man. So we're excited to have you on. Checked out. He's got his own YouTube channel. I'm sure you'll talk about that a little bit as well. He's another active duty service member. Would you mind just go ahead and giving us a brief intro about yourself, what you're doing, where you're from, things like that?
So I'm stationed out here in San Diego. Not a bad gig. I've been in this service for 15 years. Active duty, enlisted. E6, mostly been stationed out here in California. Out of my whole 15 years, I probably had 3 years not in San Diego, but it's still in California.
So, I don't know how you lucked out with that. How you lucked out with that one, man?
I don't even know. I'm originally from Jersey, so.
What? You're in the Navy, right?
I am. So I'm active duty Navy. I work in aviation side of the Navy.
Nice.
So. Definitely different. It's not just the ships and all the boats. We have, jets, helicopters, everything.
See, the Army has something like that where, you might get lucky and get stationed in one spot for your entire career. It's called Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's a thing.
The center of the universe, right?
That is a thing.
Yeah. I actually wouldn't mind that, man. I'm up here at Fort Drum right now. It's just pretty cool. The unit's not bad. It's just the things here. There's not much to do, so, but it's all good. So, real estate, how did that happen? Tell us about that. What's going on with that?
So real estate for me was something I wanted to get into for the longest. Before like my 10-year mark, before I left San Diego, I was looking at properties. Due to unfortunate events, I wasn't able to buy. And I got stationed somewhere else in Fresno area. It's Central California. So when I went and got stationed out there, I knew that was a place I wanted to buy. The houses were about 165 to 200,000,
Really?
3-bedroom, 2-bath. That's California prices.
That's so good though.
About 1,300 square feet, and I was just like, man, this is the right opportunity in the right place. Because I went over there with that mentality, I decided to, let me just rent out a room for $500 until I find the right place.
Right.
What happened was I found the right place in like 6 months while I was out there. When I found it, I just kind of messaged people from Bigger Pockets, Elizabeth Colesgrove of the Reluctant Landlord. And she had reached out like, hey, I'm an investor out here. Don't use your VA loan. I was all like, oh, okay, like, don't use my VA loan. What am I going to use, This is something different. She was like, out here, there's something called a USDA loan. What that is it's for rural areas where they want people to move over there and live over there and everything like that. So I found my place. That was a foreclosure. This was 2013. 165, I want to say. The 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,300 square feet. And looking into the numbers, I knew what my BH covered. It would cover exactly just that without renting out the rooms. So I had that mentality of like, okay, worst comes to worst, I can't get anybody in. Like, I'll pay for this on my own. I'd like tough it out and just like shower in the gym so I could cut down on water costs. I'd be eating in the galley, but I knew that's what I wanted. And I would even like practice that mentality of like, okay, this is how it is showering in the gym. Not much lights on, but I had that property. So I remember specifically looking at that. That was actually my first spot that I looked at. And it just felt right. Like numbers were there and everything. I drove up to the driveway the night before, like making that offer and putting it in, and just like visualize myself. Just, this is how it feels to pull into this driveway. This is going to be mine. Lo and behold, about 2 months later, I was able to close on that property. A couple people from my squadron reached out and was like, hey, listen, like, we're just about to get BAH, basic allowance housing. And they're like, hey, AZ1, you know, that's the rate rank. They're like, I know you have a place. I was wondering if we could rent it out, this and that. And I was like, dude, that's an automatic yes. Like, you guys can rent it out. I just split everything so that they're able to cover my mortgage. Yep. So instead of just like, okay, they're covering my mortgage, I kind of acted like I'm also a tenant in my own house. I didn't take the biggest room. I gave it to the couple that was interested, and then my other friend that was interested, he got the other room. So I took the smallest room. Part of me even wanted to be like, oh man, I still got room in the couch. Like, I'll sleep in the garage, you know? And that was just that mentality of how I got like started in real estate. I always loved it. Always read that Rich Dad Poor Dad, my first deployment, but never like pulled the trigger until the unfortunate event of why I went over to Fresno.
What? Tell me this though. Fresno, California. When I think of California, man, I'm thinking prices are, $300,000 for a 700 square foot, 1 bed, 1 bath. But you're telling me you found a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for $165,000?
Yes.
That's pretty good. And then on top of that, you were able to fill out every room and get it rented out.
Easy.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the classic house hack. That's a perfect example of a single family classic house hack. Because usually when we say house hack, we're usually talking about like multifamily, but you can easily do it with a single family as well, as long as you have the mentality. And I just want to touch on a couple things that you talked about there, which I think are extremely important for our listeners and the young soldiers or senior soldiers that are out there listening, or just, I guess, military service members. I'm sorry, we got some sailors on board today. So for anybody out there listening, we talked, number one, you talked about the mentality, right? You said that word a couple different times. You had to change your mentality. You had the mentality of I'm not sure if I can do this because I live in California, but how can I do this? Instead of, I can't do this, how can I do this? And you figured out a way, right? You went out and networked, found out the USDA loan, then you went ahead and purchased your property. Next thing was, you said, well, man, I'm just barely covering my barely covering my BH with this property, or this meets my BH, is right there, right? So you already went into it with the right mentality. Well, I don't care, even if I don't rent this thing out. At the very worst case scenario, I'm gonna eat in the galley. I'm gonna freaking I'm gonna do whatever you need to do to make sure make sure it happens. And fortunately, of course, you rented out, you did the house hack, which is awesome. But then you also talked about the visualization piece. Like, that's a key piece of, if anybody's heard of Hal Elrod's book,
Miracle Morning?
Yeah, Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod's book, visualizing exactly what you're going to do, and how powerful that is to making things come to fruition, which is, I think, is phenomenal. So a couple questions to unpack. The USDA loan, that's something that not a lot of people are familiar with, right? And then especially when we say don't use the VA loan, use the USDA loan. Why is that? What are some of the advantages of that? And can you kind of just explain that a little bit?
For me, the advantage was just not tapping into the VA loan yet, because I knew, like, even before that first property, I knew I wanted multiple properties. I have a goal of 8 properties in California. And then the advantage is that it already shows you what properties are available for you. So it already filters that option of like, okay, well, can I get a USDA loan here or there? It shows you exactly. They have a website that you could go on. All the same rules apply as the VA loan, kind of like, it's a no money down.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very stringent like process of making sure the properties are good properties. You have to live there in that property. So it's similar to VA loan, but you could refinance after 2 years, move out of that. If you found, these are some of the things I wish I knew actually. I wish I would have just went after 2 years, just, okay, let me go find another USDA loan.
Yep.
But those are the items that I feel like is why it's advantageous for people.
Yeah, USDA loan guys, like there's a few homeowner occupied loans, USDA loan, FHA loan, VA loan. But I mean, Mike hit the nail on the head. The USDA with 0% down, that is, in my opinion, the way I like to explain it to my clients, that's the civilian version of a VA loan, right? So they can basically benefit with the same type of incentives and all this good stuff. There are some requirements though. Like Mike said, you have to be in a region, considered a fairly rural region, and there's certain qualifications that make it USDA qualified. But nonetheless, man, you can go in, use that, next year use a VA, next year use an FHA, and before you know it, you have 3 properties, and all you did was spend 3.5% down on one, right? Something like that. But that's a beautiful way that you got creative with the house hacking.
Yeah, that's actually my next plan is the FHA. I just used the VA loan for my property here.
Nice.
In California. So that one, I didn't get to house hack. I got married. I realized, I can't really house hack with my wife.
She's not having it.
She's actually the boss. So that's how that worked. I was like, well, I guess. So that's how rent gets split. No, I'm just playing. But so I used my VA loan for out here. It's a crazy price, but I love the area. I know it'll go up in value. Mm-hmm. It's La Jolla, California, in San Diego. So it has that like top tier zip code, so to speak. So the FHA is my next one.
If you don't mind me asking, what's the general price range? I don't need to know. Is it like 3 to 4, 4 to 5?
No. You know what? I don't care. I'll say it. So for a 1 bedroom, 1 bath,
right,
100 square feet, how much would you guess?
Yeah, I'm thinking $500,000. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm gonna go with, about 400.
I was able to close at 350. Yeah, 350. It's now the condo is about 420 right now.
Right.
And
Appreciation out there is
2017, and I applied the same method as when I transferred back down here.
Yep.
Of like, let me go find a place, just rent out a room, looked around the area, and I was able to find something in 6 months.
And that seems pretty affordable when you think about it that way, with living there with your wife and things of that nature. And then just a quick caveat: once you do go get the FHA, do you plan on occupying the new FHA? And if so, what do you plan on doing with your current condo?
So the condo, actually, I'm gonna rent it out soon. I'm transferring later this year to Japan. I'm transferring overseas.
Nice.
So kind of just rent those 2 properties out, find a good property manager, mm-hmm. and then once we come back to the States, probably use the FHA, or even if I find properties out of state. I don't know. The out of state thing's still debatable in my head. But yeah, probably just save up as much as I can while I'm in Japan. Watch the market from out there.
That's awesome. Where are you going out in Japan? Just curious.
Misawa.
Okay.
It's an Air Force base. I don't even know why I go up there.
Is it like well, I'm not sure. Never mind. I was just in Tokyo not too long ago, like 4 or 5 months ago or something like that. I was in an Air Force base. It was an Air Force and a Navy base, I believe, out there somewhere. But yes. I don't remember what the name it was. I don't remember what the name was. No, it wasn't Okinawa. No. But no issues. So let's talk about some of the specifics and the thought processes of one, your USDA loan, and then also your more recent VA loan, condo. I love to kind of get your thoughts on how you went about it, like the beginning stages of it. All right. You knew you wanted something, a single family. Did you know you wanted a single family with the Fresno property? If you did, was your plan all along to do the house hack? And like, what were some of the numbers? Can you give us a general idea of what that looked like? Same thing with the VA loan. with the condo?
So the first property, I knew I wanted to house hack. It was definitely before, like, I feel like it was before it was like called house hack. Like now it's like such a big term. So it was pretty cool to just kind of be at the forefront of that in a way. The numbers wise, the mortgage was about 1,100 and everything, and I just rented out the 2 rooms for 600, and then my room I would just pay 400, which I would just put in a separate like account. Mm-hmm. So I knew already like, okay, I gotta open up a different account so that I could have it set for that property. And now I'm just rolling that over with my VA loan, like my condo now, so that when I do transfer, it's like, okay, everything's deducted from there. It's easy for my CPA to take care of stuff. And then some advantages of the VA loan out here. I think San Diego, it's super expensive and it's hard to like make it work as far as like finding a duplex, but there are deals out there. The VA loan out here, if I were to able to find a house, I would do the same thing. Unfortunately, like got married, so that's why I did the condo.
Be careful with that, man. You're saying unfortunately.
Yeah, no, you can't say that. You can't say that on air. We don't. We're not a part of this.
Yeah, I did not know that. Yeah, I did not hear that.
My bad. Yeah, I cut that.
Yeah. No, but go ahead.
No, but yeah, San Diego. I think I know the location. I have like full faith in it. Went up as much as like over 100,000. 365 to 420. It went up that much in the span of 2 years. So
I think that's extremely important for the fact that you know your market well enough that you know this may not be a market for cash flow. This is maybe a market for appreciation, right? But understanding your market is so imperative when you're making these decisions. For example, if you're in San Diego, you're in Denver, Colorado, you're in these really expensive markets, you may not be able to find that 1% or 2% rule duplex or quad. But you can find a nice, beautiful home rented out by the room, house hack it the traditional way, and now you've just turned what could have been a horrible cash flow play into a positive investment, right? And now you're holding on this one because it's a personal decision you made with you and your wife, and now your net worth is just jumped up by, whatever it did in equity because you understood your market and you thought about it before you went ahead and move forward. So, I mean, as you guys are out there making decisions, it's not unfortunate that you're married, right? Let's point that out. It's fortunate that you can have that conversation with your wife or your significant other, your spouse, right? And talk about those different approaches. But I like that. That's a good point there.
Yeah, definitely. The beginning with the end in mind, right? That's right. What it's all about, man. Like, so you already knew you wanted to invest where you wanted to invest at, but before you just kind of jump in and take action and become one of those accidental landlords that that I hate seeing. I hate seeing a lot of service members are just accidental landlords that go for the biggest property, not thinking about what's going to happen next. They maximize or use the extent of their VA loan or the extent of not their VA loan, the extent of the what they can afford. And then when it's time to PCS, unfortunately, that's an unfortunate. Unfortunately, they they can't rent out for can't rent the place out for what their mortgage is worth. So now they're kind of stuck, or they can't sell it. So now they're really, really stuck and having to pay additional mortgage payments. Meanwhile, they're not even living there. So you began with the end in mind, figured out what hey, Sam, where you're at right now is a cash flow play, or not a cash flow, an appreciation play. And and you can still rent it out and you'll be fine. That's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I don't think it's as much as my first property just because of the location of where Fresno is at, that market out there. Over here, where I'm at, my condo, I'm right by a great university, UCSD. So there's a lot of med students, and I know rental wise, I'll make some money. Not, you always want more money when you're running things out, but it's enough.
And sometimes it's better to have that stability, right, over the cash flow, because if you really look at it, yeah, you can increase your cash flow in a rental property, but more than likely you're going to start to drop your stability. You're going to drop the class to really increase the cash flow. A class A or a class B, typically you're going to see smaller cash flow margins, but you're going to have more stable tenants, more qualified tenants, so that's also something to consider.
Yeah, and the class A and class B over class C and D usually appreciate a lot more as far as market appreciation as well. So that's definitely another factor. So what's next for Mike DeMazzo? So we know you're going to Japan. Right now, you're saying you think you might just kind of hang out and save some funds until you come back. But who knows what's next for you?
What's next for me is just really just building out the YouTube channel, educating service members to get the F out of debt, build wealth with real estate or stocks, investments, whatever the case is, but just really shifting that mindset for them. But we're talking about going to Japan. I am still thinking about out-of-state properties. So that's definitely something I need to research more and everything. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Rich Carey.
Yeah.
He was where I'm getting stationed at is where he was stationed at, and he bought all those properties out of like Alabama or whatever the case is. So who knows? I may do some moves like that.
How would let's explore that a little bit. Maybe you'll come up with a decision after this conversation. But so how would you do that? Like explain, because I know there's others that are stationed in Germany. I got friends that are in Germany. I got friends that are in Japan. I got friends all across the world, and they're saying the same thing. Like, hey, I want to invest, but man, I'm going to be over here for a year. I'm going to be over in South Korea for 2 years, or So how would one go about that? Let's expound on that a little bit.
Well, I would definitely tap into my network of people that I know in whatever particular area to see like, hey, who are the people making moves out there? Just get connected, kind of just talk with them, get familiar with their market and everything like that. And then definitely for me, I'm one of those people that love to like have that face-to-face relationship with people. So I would make, say, the trip out to Alabama, for instance, to go see the property and then to talk to property managers or general contractors and just to really drive through the neighborhood to see what the surrounding area is. Because I could go on Google Maps all day and just go around. I could read everything online. But there's something different when you just go to whatever location or meet whichever person, and make that connection there. Because like right now, I have a property that was shown to me in Alabama. I haven't made my trip out there because I'm like, oh man, Alabama is just a whole different state for me. Mm-hmm. My strong suit is California. As expensive as it is out here, it's a ball game I like to play.
So you're much more on that relationship based. You need to have that comfort, not only in the market, but in the team that you're employing as well. Okay.
Yeah, man. So I definitely understand that. I have a property in Alabama, actually, so like right on the borderline. But so I'm pretty well. I don't know what part of Alabama you're going with, but I'm somewhat familiar with it. I got my foreign entity there, So, but we talked about building a team, right? You're talking about doing it through building a team, and technology makes it so awesome. So technology is so awesome. It makes it a lot easier to network and build that team that you need to go off and invest in a different state. So, because I've done the same exact thing. I had to, I'm in New York right now. I own properties in Georgia, so I had to do something very, very similar. So, what do you think is the first team member or the first couple team members that you're going to try to network with, and how do you plan on doing that? I know you said you want to do it physically, face to face, of course, but to start off with, what are you thinking?
Mine would definitely be just other investors that's in that area. See who they have used as a real estate agent, different brokers. And then also for me, I'm one of those people that I'm active duty, so I can't really, I can do the property management myself, but I'd rather have a team. So it's one less thing to worry about when there's a whole different set of other things you're trying to accomplish. So a property manager, general contractor, real estate agent, I'm definitely a broker.
I'm going to tell you, there's turnkey companies out there. There's a lot of controversy, right,
Yeah.
about some of these turnkey companies, but they essentially source their deal, right? It could be a wholesale deal, whatever the case may be. They source it internally. They get the rehab done and completed, and then they sell it to you as a package deal with the tenant and property management, but they tend to sell it at market value. So you're going in there and you might be getting your 1% or your 1.2%, but you're not retaining any equity versus something like the Burr strategy or something like that. You know, you could do it from a distance, long distance investing, right? David Green, shout out. But you could do a Burr method and then maintain your equity on the back end. So really, it kind of just depends on what you're looking for. But to me, it sounds like you're more interested in establishing the proper team in a good network, in a good area. So a turnkey company might be something that you'd be willing to entertain, right? Or at least start interviewing them. Yeah.
Definitely look into that. These are the things I don't know.
Yeah, so if you do plan on getting into turnkey or you're interested in turnkey, we did a video a while back with Marco Santarelli, who's like major big turnkey guy, and just like Mike said, he does sell it. They usually do sell at market value, but obviously it's because of the work that they do. They're giving you literally a turnkey investment, you know, so you're just cash flowing off the top as soon as you get it. Now you're not going to make a lot of you're not going to have equity from the jump, but usually you'll gain that equity over through time, basically through debt pay down and then through market appreciation as well. So you got those options, but definitely go check out that video market with Marco Santarelli. And he kind of talks all about it and what he's doing. I believe he's in Tennessee. I believe most of his deals are coming out of Tennessee. So I'm not 100% sure though, but yeah.
There's like five. I can think of like five off the top of my head for sure. Let's backtrack a little bit, man. Let's talk about this YouTube channel, man. What are you doing? Well, you said you're helping out veterans. What's your YouTube channel, your social media presence? What's that all about?
So YouTube channel just started right after FinCon, just kind of get the ball rolling. And my mission is to help service members get the F out of debt and then build wealth. It's crazy because about 82% of service members are in $10,000 worth of credit card debt. And
wow,
my target market is enlisted personnel because I'm enlisted. A lot of us that are enlisted don't go to school, and you know it's a different mentality of like I'll just keep working, or paycheck to paycheck at times. So you really have to shift that. So I'm on YouTube to be able to like, hey, listen, I was there. I was the one that was like every Friday getting model service or getting a BMW and everything. Like I still see my homies and everything here in San Diego. But I'm like, I'm good. Like I got to do a YouTube video, you know? But yeah, so that's the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Damaso. Instagram handle is fitness.wealth.
Nice.
And then Twitter is just Mike Damaso.
What was the catalyst for you, man? What was the spark that made you say, you know what? Let me start educating people on the same struggles that I had. What made you decide to go with that direction?
For me, it was because I got into getting serious with my personal finance like 10 years after in the service. So I want to be able to talk to junior service members that's like, hey, it's Friday, like let's go out, or like we just got back from deployment, let's go buy a Mustang. Like, yo,
24% interest. 24% interest. I need that Mustang. I need that Dodge Charger. That's what it is, dude. Yep. The Dodge Charger. I see that in the parking lot all the time. The Charger or the freaking or the Camaro.
you can make that money. You could get that, but you gotta have that mentality. Like, yo, I could sacrifice that right now in the real estate investing or whatever, investing in different side hustles and everything. So it's just really talking to junior service members. Someone I wish, you know, I just went on YouTube and was like, wow, this guy's talking about some real shit that nobody really talks about. I don't have to go eat out all the time. I mean, I can, but right. You know, the galley's just as good.
And I love that, man, because nobody has patience anymore. Everybody looks at Instagram, looks at social media, looks at all these superstars, and they literally think it happened overnight. No, nobody just came upon wealth unless they inherited it. Maybe their parents were rich, but everybody that has something worth having, they grinded, they worked, they were frugal when they needed to be, invested their time and energy when they needed to. So yeah, life's about choices. Absolutely. You can go out every day and eat out if you want. Sure. Or you can decide, hey, for 1 week or 2 weeks out of the month, I'm going to be dedicated, eat at home, be frugal, take those savings, invest it somewhere. Then the other 2 weeks, yeah, everything's done in moderation, right? But you got to start somewhere. So I like that.
Thank you.
Big time, man. There's no such thing as the overnight success, dude. Like, and I love that that you're documenting. I think that's pretty much how we start off as well. Like, hey, we want to document this journey and show exactly what it takes from the bottom. Started from the bottom, and eventually we'll be here. So
more poverty.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So 5-10 years from now, when you got your boatload of properties, out there in California like you want to, and you're cash flowing like you want to, and somebody thinks, man, it was so easy for you, Mike. I mean, I don't know how you did it so quick. Show them this video, show this video. Yeah.
So with that being said, man, you're doing all this stuff. You're doing your investing on the side. Obviously, you're still self-managing the one in Fresno. You got your YouTube channel, but you're still active duty, right? A position of leadership. So how are you managing all of this at the same time?
I basically don't sleep. No.
What's your give us an example of your schedule. Give us an example of the schedule. That's what they want to hear.
So right now I work night shift. So like when I'm at work, Like there's nothing else. I have my dedicated, I'm going to eat at this time. Basically what it is an hour of eating and working on YouTube content of okay, what's the next video I want to do? Let me do my research. Okay, follow up with people. I'm very I have an alarm for every hour. Basically, it'll just go off and be okay, it's already 11. I need to be doing this already. Because a lot of times we're so focused. I'm focused on money and time. So I need to make sure my time, I'm maximizing every single hour. So I have the count, I'm the type of person I need to write it down. So I'll write it down and then I'll put it on my Google Calendar and then make sure I'm there, show up. If it's on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
Who else said that, man? That sounds very, very familiar.
Some point proven.
Great minds think alike.
Great minds think alike, man. Yeah. Ruben Garcia, man, he's got me. That's how I live my life too, man. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. Man, that's too funny.
All right,
but yeah, go ahead, Dan.
So you're working night shifts, right? And we're saying you got everything set up on the hour. Can you just give us literally a brief example? All right, I wake up at this time. All right, this time I'm doing these activities. This time I'm doing these activities, or I'm going to bed here, getting this much sleep, so that people really understand how this works. Is for some reason people are there's a lot of service members out there. They're like, man, there's no way. I just don't have the time in the day to do everything that you are doing. I don't understand how you're doing it. So can you give us a breakdown? Just dissect that just a little bit more.
Okay. So
brung out the phone, man. He brung out the phone
to let you know. So I go to bed about now that I'm working nights about 2. So I'll sleep until for 6 hours. 6 or 7, depending on how I feel. Whenever I wake up at 8, 9, I'm just getting ready, go work out, come back about 10:30. Tomorrow I have an interview with someone at 10 and then 11. So I'll be done at 12 with all that. I'll start getting ready for work just that hour before, and then head to work about 2. Because you always show up early. It's never there's no 8-hour days, so that's all the way to 10, and then after 10:30, really we get off of work about 2300, sometimes midnight. When I'm off work, I go over here to a WeWork, start grinding out some stuff, start learning stuff, and then make sure I'm at the house about 1:30 a.m. and then get ready to go to bed. So as long as I set up my night before, I'm successful in my morning.
God, man, I love that. And you're going to see a common trend in all of our interviews. Everybody says generally the same thing. I don't sleep. But what it is, man, is you just set priorities. You know what you're going for. You chose not to make an excuse. Instead, you made it a simple structure to follow by putting it in a calendar and then setting it up the day before. That's an easy tip to success. Write it down, listeners.
Big time. Yeah, big time, man. Like planning out the day before, planning out your day the day before, planning out your week the week before, planning out your month sometimes a month before, those big those big rocks basically, and making sure that you're prioritizing those and utilizing all the time that you actually have available. Obviously, you got to sleep. I mean, everybody says you don't sleep, but instead of sleeping for like 10 hours, we might be sleeping for 6 hours or 5 hours, so at big time, and that's key. I love how you broke that down.
Hey, what was that big rocks thing, Dan? What's the name of that video? I know what you're talking about, but explain that a little bit better.
Yeah, so you can prioritize. So throughout the day, you have a whole bunch of stuff that you can do, right? You can either be working on these little pebbles, right? You only have a certain amount of time. You got a cup. Here's my red cup. There's not beer in it, I promise. So you got
you got the red cup. Hold on.
So you got this cup, right? And this is the amount of time that you have. Every single item you have is like putting a pebble into the cup, right? And then at the end of it, you need the big chunks. The big chunks are the important chunks. Like the size of the rock is the importance of the activity. What you want to do is you want to be attacking those bigger rocks and using your time on those bigger rocks versus those little bitty pebbles. Like I need to check Facebook, or I need to write this person a message back on Instagram, or I need to, simple things like that. Instead, you want to be, all right, I need to analyze my next deal, or I need to be writing offers. What are those things that matter the most? Was Gary Keller, like the one thing, if it doesn't make my life easier, if it's not an action that's making my life or making something easier, then that's not the activity that I should be doing. I probably butchered that, but that's essentially what it is.
Concept. Yeah, man, because that's so important. The big rocks could be family, right? It could be religion. It could be anything, but whatever's most important to you, if you start filling your cup up first with all the Netflix and everything else, before you know it, you ran out of space. You don't have any more space. So you did the same thing, Mike. You was like, all right, cool. I have my big rock, which is my employment. I cannot avoid that. But every other section I can control is getting the big rocks that are important to me. Content, family time, so forth and so on.
Yeah, definitely. I also just wanted to go back really quick. When I was in Fresno, I was going to school and I had a part-time job. And people would always be like, how are you doing that? And I'd just be like, because it's just time management. There's so much money in that.
Yeah, I love it, man. Everybody gets 24 hours. Everybody gets 24 hours. So, I mean, really, what are you going to do with it?
Prioritizing what's important in life, man. You're not watching a lot of football, or not watching a lot of baseball, or whatever you watch. You're focusing on getting this, building wealth and creating military cash flow. Yeah. So, so yeah. Hey, so, if there was one piece of advice that you could give to any of our listeners that are just starting off, or just any piece of advice in general, what would that one piece of advice be?
It would be scared money don't make money. But calculated moves is what brings money.
Say that one more time. Scared money don't make money.
Calculated moves makes money.
I like that.
I like that a lot too. You'll probably hear me say that a couple times in a couple other videos. Scared money don't make money.
Yeah.
Calculated moves.
You can't do that, but you got to have those calculated moves.
Yeah, big time. All right, so that's excellent. How can our listeners get in contact with you? How can we find out more about Mike DeMazzo and the platforms that you run?
So definitely check out the YouTube channel, subscribe if you feel like it, hit that thumbs up, whatever the case is. And on Instagram, my handle is fitness.wealth. And on Twitter, it is Mike DeMazzo. So just reach out to me in any socials. Always happy to connect with others, answer any questions, or point them in the right direction if I don't know that answer.
Nice.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I got the YouTube up right now, and I've already subscribed. So you guys go out there, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit a like, leave a comment on the page there. It's got fitness and wealth, new videos weekly. It's a nice little, I like it, like the little yellow, this looks really, really nice. Looks really, really clean. So you guys make sure to go out and check out Mike's channel, subscribe to his channel, and then also reach out to him on social media as well. And then the same for us. Hey, if you're watching this on YouTube or you listen to this on podcast, do us a favor, leave us a 5-star review. Also like, comment, share, especially share with others. We're all about trying to get this knowledge out to other service members, like Mike said, like both Mike say. So we're trying to get this knowledge out, spread the knowledge as much as possible, and create wealth and military cash flow for other service members as well. With that, this is Dan Wynn
and Mike Glaspie
signing off.